Imagine paying taxes your entire life, so children you will never meet can be safe, fed, and protected. That's the deal. But now imagine this instead. A daycare building, locked, lights off, silent, no kids running, no teachers talking, no sound at all. But every single month, the money still arrives. Thousands of dollars. Taxpayer money. But here's the problem. The children might not even exist. This sounds like a movie. It sounds like a conspiracy. But it's neither. This is a real investigation happening right now in the United States. And it all began with one uncomfortable question. What if the daycare centers themselves are fake? In late 2025, a viral video exposed something deeply unsettling. Buildings officially listed as fully operational daycare centers. They claimed full attendance. They claimed daily meals. They claimed full government funding. But when people showed up in person, there was nothing. No children, no staff, no activity, just locked doors and empty rooms. And that is why everything changed. Within days, the federal government froze hundreds of millions of dollars. The FBI stepped in. Homeland Security got involved. But this story didn't appear overnight. The warning signs had been there for years. Behind the scenes, the fraud revolved around federally funded childcare programs. Programs designed to help low-income families survive. Here's how the system is supposed to work. The federal government sends money to the states. The states distribute that money to licensed daycare centers. Those centers report attendance and expenses. And the government reimburses them. Simple, efficient, trusted. But in Minnesota, investigators say that trust was abused. Hundreds of daycare centers allegedly claimed money for children who never showed up. Some reported full attendance every single day, even during holidays, storms, or shutdowns. Others operated out of residential homes, strip malls, or buildings that showed no signs of childcare activity at all. In some cases, a single daycare claimed more children than could physically fit inside the building. And that is when the numbers stopped making sense. According to investigators, the system relied heavily on self-reporting. Attendance numbers were entered by the centers themselves. Food reimbursements were claimed without direct verification, and payments were often approved automatically. That is where the loophole was. Once approved, the money kept flowing, month after month, year after year, with very little oversight. Authorities now believe some operators exaggerated attendance. Others allegedly invented children altogether. Food reimbursements were claimed for meals that were never cooked, never served, and never eaten. But the most disturbing part came later. Investigators say some of that money was used for luxury vehicles, high-end real estate, expensive personal purchases, all paid for by taxpayer dollars. Money that was supposed to help families and to protect children. As the investigation expanded, so did the consequences. When the government froze the funding, the impact was immediate. Legitimate daycare centers suddenly lost access to money. Parents were forced to find childcare overnight. Workers lost jobs with no warning. Families were caught in the middle. But that is why this case became so controversial. Some daycare owners say they are innocent. They claim the viral video painted an unfair picture. They argue that some centers were temporarily closed or misrepresented. They say honest businesses were punished because of the actions of a few bad actors. But others say the freeze was necessary. They argue the system had failed. That oversight was broken. And that without drastic action, the fraud would have continued. This is where the story turns political. Some leaders say this scandal proves that government welfare programs are vulnerable. Others say the real failure was poor monitoring, not the programs themselves. But that is why this story refuses to disappear, because there is no simple answer. So how big is this really? Officials have not released a final number yet. But early estimates suggest losses in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Some experts believe the real total could exceed $1 billion. That is why national attention exploded. This wasn't just local fraud. This was a system-wide failure. Searches surged on Google. Videos exploded on YouTube. Congress demanded answers. And federal agencies began asking a terrifying question. If this happened in one state, how many others haven't been caught yet? Because this story isn't just about Minnesota. It's about trust. Trust in systems meant to protect children. Trust in public institutions. Trust that taxpayer money is actually being used as promised. When that trust breaks, the damage spreads far beyond money. The Minnesota daycare fraud scandal is still unfolding. Audits are ongoing. Investigations continue. And more details are expected to come out. But one thing is already clear. This wasn't a small mistake. This wasn't a paperwork error. This was a breakdown of oversight on a massive scale. And as the investigation continues, the most disturbing question remains. If empty buildings can receive millions, if fake numbers can pass undetected, then how much is still slipping through the cracks right now? This is the Minnesota daycare fraud scandal.